Welcome to math class. Today we're going to work on retirement plans. Okay, we're going to talk about a 403b and a 401k and how they're beneficial. Okay, so they're both a set retirement plan, but they're a different part of the tax code because they are for people who work for different types of companies. If you're getting a 401k, you work for a business. Okay, that's working for a profit. So if you're at a store where you're selling products, if you're at Kohl's, Target, Amazon, right, something like that, you would get a 401k as a retirement plan. Right? If you work for an organization that isn't selling things, so let's say like a hospital, okay, or a school, right, you're offered a 403b retirement plan, which is essentially the same thing. Okay, but in the tax code, they separate it as people who work for a business and people who work for a non-for-profit group. Okay, like schools, I'm not selling you guys anything. I'm not making a profit. I'm just providing a service. Okay, so I would be allowed to get a 403b. Right, so the benefit of investing in a 401k or a 403b, rather than just taking my paycheck and investing it in the stock market on my own, is that they are pre-tax deductions. Okay? Before the government can tax it, I try to put it somewhere safe. Okay? So if it's a pre-tax deduction, I invest it without it being taxed by the government. Okay, so for here, we're going to do an example real quick. And I did have two typos. Change the 0.2625 to 0.2565. Right, when I was typing over the total of all the different tax percentages, I mistyped it. Right, granted the tax is always changing, so today it could be 0.2625. In a year, under new administration, if they change the tax codes, it could be lower, it could be higher. Right? So here, let's say you make $500, right? If I want to see what taxes come out, I'm going to do 500 times 0.2565. Right? So $128.25 comes out as taxes. So I want to see how much I have left over. 500 minus 128.25 would equal 371 and 75 cents. That's how much I get to keep. Right? So I didn't invest anything. Right? If I go over to this side, right? Let's say I make the same 500, but 400 of it is going to be regular, and I'm going to sock $100 of it away in my 401k or in my 403b. That puts it in a safe place where the government can't touch it. Okay, they can't get their hands on it. So I'm just going to show the government I only made $400. That much you can tax. This other 100, it's mine, it's invested, and it's in a safe place. So if I do 400 times 0.2565, right, my taxes that are coming out are going to be less. They're only going to take $102.60 out instead of the 128. Right? So if I do 400 minus the 102.60, so 400 minus 102.60, it's going to be $297.4. So $297.40 that I get to keep. All right, so here's the big difference. If I don't invest anything, I get my $500, it gets taxed. More tax was taken out. They took out 128 instead of 102. All right? But right now, I went home with more money, 371.75, where if I invested 100, I only have 297.40 in my pocket. Okay, but the difference is this one has $100 invested. If I go to invest $100 here on my own, and only have 271.75 left. Okay, so by investing it pre-tax, okay, you're going to get more value, right? Yes, you have more money immediately if you don't invest anything, but then you don't have anything saved up for when you're older. Okay, you always want to put a little bit of money away to save for retirement. Okay, that way you have money to live off of when you can't work. Right? So here, if you put 100 of it safely in a 401k, the government can't touch it. The downside is the government won't tax that, but that also means you can't touch it. A 401k or a 403b, think of it like a nice lockbox. Okay, you and the government have an agreement. If I put my money in this lockbox, I won't touch it. But that also means you don't get to touch it, government, so they won't tax it. Right? And the government's okay with that, because then you get to put more money and more money and more money into your retirement account, because they want you to be able to survive when you're older. Okay? On the flip side, when you get old enough, we can start taking out of it, then they can start taxing it. Okay, but you'll have hundreds of thousands by then, so then you could start paying taxes on it as you take money out. That's okay. Right? So you and the government have a deal. They won't tax it, but you don't get to touch it until you're, I think the age is 59 and a half. Okay, once you're 59 and a half, you could start taking your money back out of it. Right? Let's say something happens though, and you need that money. Okay, let's say you want to buy a new car. The money technically is yours. The government will let you go into it and take money out. But if you haven't hit that age requirement yet, they are going to charge you a fee or a penalty. Okay? In the tax code, you're putting it away untaxed. Okay, so the government is making a deal. That's fine as long as you don't touch it till you're older. If you try and take money out of your retirement prior to reaching that age, they're going to fine you for it. Okay, they're like, wait, we made a deal. You won't touch us until you're 59. Since you're breaking that deal, we're going to take a little bit of it away. All right, so you want to try to avoid that. Some companies will offer what's called matching. Okay, so a company will invest what you invest. Okay, so let's say I invest $200. That's me. My company would also invest $200 in my account for me as like a bonus. So I'd have $400 invested. Okay, matching. Companies will give you money to try to entice you to invest in your future. Right? So let's say you're contributing 6% of your salary into your retirement account. Okay, so 6% of 50,000, 0.06 times 50,000. Right, that's going to be $3,000. So for the entire year, I'm investing $3,000. Right? If my company matches 50 cents, okay, that's 50% of each dollar that I invest. Okay, if I put in $3,000 and they're doing 50 cents for each dollar, or 50%, 50% of this is what I do, is going to be $1,500. Okay, so it's not a full match, but they'll give me something. Okay, so whatever I put in, they'll put in half as much. If I add those together, at the end of the year, $4,500 is invested for me that I get to use in the future. I only put $3,000 in it. Right? So if a company offers a matching option, you want to try to maximize it. Okay, so always try to contribute the max. If your company says we will match your investments up to $5,000, then you better try to put $5,000 in there, because then they'll give you that much back. It's like free money. Right? You don't want to miss out on any of that. Right? So are you allowed to touch the money before you retire? You can, but it will be fined, or like a penalty fee. Right? So let's say I'm buying like a beach house or a vacation home. I could dip into my retirement, but if I haven't reached the retirement age yet, okay, I haven't reached the 59 and a half, they're going to charge me a penalty fee for taking some of that not taxed money when I wasn't supposed to. Right? In certain cases, they might waive the fee. The fee is about 10%. Okay, so some instances, let's say you're purchasing your first home, right? Sometimes they'll allow you to take some of your retirement out as a down payment, and they may waive the fee of the 10% if it's your first home. If I'm buying a second, third, vacation home, whatever it is, they won't allow that. Okay, sometimes they're just giving you a boost if it's your first home. Right? Let's say you're disabled, okay, and you're unable to work. A lot of times they'll waive the fee, being like, all right, you've already saved $100,000. If you can't work right now, we understand why you need to get at it. Right? In some cases, if your kids have a lot of student loan debts, they may allow you to dip in without penalty, but not always. Right? And in some cases, if it prevents eviction or foreclosure, they might waive the fee. If you can't make your payments currently, but you have $10,000 that you can't touch that's in your retirement, they might allow you to take that out for those situations. Okay? What happens to your money if you leave your job? Okay, so let's say I worked for Target. Okay, and I kept working, I kept saving money, I kept putting some of my paycheck into my 401k. So I saved up $150,000 because I was working there a couple of years. They were matching for a couple of years. Right? But then let's say I get a better job at Walmart. Okay? They made me regional manager, whatever it is. Do I get to take that money with me? Of course. It's your money. Right? But if it's in a 401k, right? I can't just take that $150,000 and put it in my pocket because the government needs to tax it. If you move it from Target in a 401k, you could move it to your other company and put it into their 401k plan. Okay? But you can't put it in your pocket, okay? Because that the government won't allow. They have to tax it, or it's got to be in a 401k plan. So you could swap it from one to the other. Right? Let's say you make $1,000. I want to see what the difference in your paychecks would be if you invest it or if you don't invest it. Okay? So let's say you have $1,000. Tax is going to happen. So I'm going to do times 0.2565. So 1,000 times 0.2565. I'm going to lose $256.50. Right? So if I take 1,000 minus that 256.50, okay, I'm going to be left with something in the 700s minus 256.50. So I have $743.50. Right? But now we're going to see what would happen if I invested 200 of it in a 401k. Right, so let me change colors. I'm still going to start with my 1,000, but I take 200 of it and put it somewhere safe. Okay, so 200 I cannot touch. It's away from the government's hands. It's away from my hands. There's 800 left that gets taxed by the government. Right, so if I do 800 times 0.2565, the government's going to take away $205.20. Right? If I do 800 minus 205.20, right, I'm left with $594.80. Right? I know that seems like a lot less, but it's $594.80 plus an extra 200. So it's like $794.80. I have more value here. Yes, I have less money right at this instance, but if I could afford to live off $594.80 a week, every 2 weeks, whatever it is, and I could put $200 away towards my retirement, where that's going to grow exponentially. We'll do retirement accounts later in the year. Okay, this is the better value because you have more total money than you would have here. Right? If you make $72,000 and your employer is going to match it up to 4% of your salary, you want to see what they would match? Okay, I'm going to do 72,000 times 0.04. Remember to change it to a decimal. So your employer will match up to $2,880. Okay, they will not match more. That's the most they will match. So what should you invest a year? You should invest $2,880. Why should you do that? Because they'll match it then. Okay, they'll give you an extra $2,880. Right? So if I take that and I double it, $5,760 is in my retirement account. I only had to put $2,800 of it there. Okay, so always try to get the most out of your company if they are going to match something. And then the last one, let's say your investments have grown to 120, but you decide to take it out when you're 48, not 59 and a half, not when you're retiring. Okay, the penalty is 10%. So if I go to take some money out, doesn't matter how much. If I go to take some money out of this, 120,000 times 10%, so times 0.10, is $12,000. Right? Is it worth losing $12,000 to touch that money early? If you're planning on buying yourself a nice car, don't go into your retirement and lose $12,000 plus whatever you're going to take out of there. Okay? It's not worth it. Okay, keep it in there so it can keep growing. Right? And then when you retire, then you can take it out. Then you can get as many fancy cars as you want. Right? So try the homework out for those ones. Good luck.